going to make you host so that you
Okay.
can share your screen now. Just
All
going
right
to go
then.
in.
And Chris, I do get everybody, I do get excited and go on a roll, and I might not see questions pop in. So Chris, if you can feel free to monitor and just interrupt me or interject if we've got questions that I haven't paid attention to.
Absolutely.
So, all righty.
All right.
So let me see if I can share the screen. So basically, a quick welcome, everybody. So as Chris said, my name's Sam. I've been working as a wellness consultant now for past 20 plus years, where what I specialize in is creating wellness concepts under the client's only unique brand. So hopefully today I'll be able to answer all of the questions. I'll be able to give you some insights as to what I've learned over the years, and let's just jump on in. Hold on. Okay, PPT. Hopefully this is going to work. And put that. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
All righty, fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to cover today, oh, hello, why is it not letting me? There we go. So what we're going to cover today is just quickly start with a quick intro of what we mean by a wellness business, because you ask even wellness professionals what they mean by wellness, and it's very different. And I know the people that we've got on this call have got different projects, and so I want to be able to make sure that you see how you fit into that picture. Then covering off, well, what are the 7 keys to success that I've seen that cross all kinds of wellness business. And as we go through, if your business is specific in an area, then please ask questions and we'll dig into how things apply to that. And then to go into the Q&A at the end. So hopefully, I mean, the talk until we can spend some time digging into what you guys need. So firstly, what is a wellness business? As a wellness consultant, I'm often asked, oh, can we create a wellness resort or whatever? By the way, what is a wellness resort? And so I wanted to go into that a bit more because, as I said, it's a relatively new term. It's only been around the last 15 years or so in sort of the hospitality context. And so if we look at wellness, basically I like the WHO definition of health, which it's a state of physical, mental and social well-being, not just the absence of disease and infirmity. And so what this means is anything that contributes to well-being can be a wellness business. So if you're, my background is spas, wellness resorts, etc., where they talk about mind, body, spirit, but it's actually a lot more than that. So the physical side, if you can see my little cursor, physical side, this is going to be our food, our movement, our habits, etc. The intellectual side, this is our cognitive function, brain health. Emotional side, jumping down here, the other part of the brain, this is everything about our feelings and our outlook on life. Spiritual dimension, this is not necessarily religious, it's a connection to something bigger than ourselves. And environment, which is huge, of course, in wellness tourism and Norfolk Island's case. So anything about it working with the environment, being in the environment, being connected to nature and natural cycles. And social is a huge one, and that has really come to the fore in the last 5 years or so, where now we're seeing wellness going away from more private treatments and to more social experiences. So, okay, so what do we mean by wellness business? Gold standard, if you like. Can everyone hear me okay? The gold standard, if you like, is the wellness resort, because here it's a big property with many departments and the whole thing is planned around wellness. And the wellness resort is different to a resort with spa in that the food and beverage, the accommodations, housekeeping, everything is designed with wellness in mind, and the marketing is always also done only to wellness guests off in the background. Hopefully that's not disrupting everybody. And then the hotel and resort spa. Now this has been the big player in the wellness hospitality spaces, hotels and resorts that have a spa. And over the last few years, we're seeing the word spa pretty much crossed out and replaced with wellness as we're starting to add in things like yoga and meditation and those kind of things. The day spa and wellness centre, or so day spa, this is anything to do with well-being. So it could be physical health, it could be massage, could even be medical or clinic, anything that's a day use. Now, often these businesses get compared to what's being done in the wellness resorts, but it's a very different business model. The finances are very different. Into a wellness business, you have to understand, the financial drivers, the costs and financial drivers. So we can dig in, depending on what your businesses are, we can dig more into your particular model. Retreats. This one we're seeing a huge growth. Now, the difference with retreats is retreats are usually organised by practitioners who want to create a multi-day event at a particular location. So it could be urban, it could be in a resort, and this is where they would partner with an existing resort to be able to put that multi-day package together. So we're seeing a huge growth in that just in recent years. And then we've got experiences. So this is, maybe it's not the whole package of wellness, or the business isn't solely focused around wellness. You might be one piece of it, such as cycle tours, or I heard that we've got horticultural tours here. So, that's all into the food business or the movement business or the outdoor adventure. So any experience that contributes to any of those dimensions about earlier would count as a wellness business.
Hey, sorry, Sam.
Yeah.
Sorry. Every now and again, you just glitch, and I'm wondering if it's because of your green room slide that's causing the...
Let me turn it off then, and see, you can do without the pretty background. And
it is beautiful though, but I think that's what's causing the glitch. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Actually, I'm trying to work out how to get rid of it. I'm just going to stop sharing for a sec so I can play with the video. So now, folks, you're just going to get the choose virtual background.
But it's nice we're hearing your bird, so we still feel very tranquil.
There you go. So you can just imagine the nice green background while we're talking. Okay, let's hope that works a little bit better. Did you lose too much of me there, Chris?
Not much, but just occasionally you just finish one and then you glitch and then you start. So we might miss the first word of like retail, for example. But yeah,
okay.
So far so good.
Okay, all right then, let's resume where we were there.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that, folks. Okay, trying to do the pretty thing for you. Okay. Alrighty, so the retail, this is a huge revenue opportunity that many wellness practitioners and centres often overlook. When I first got into wellness, I was in the spa, I was told for every $1 in therapy, I should be generating $1 in retail, which obviously will increase your profits greatly. Now, that is way above the norm for the industry, but if you're partnering with any kind of operator to be able to help both of you improve the business. And then finally, and this is a new one because this has popped up with the pandemic, huge boom in online and at-home services. And so this is everything from gift boxes sent to the home, it's online consultations, it's a combination of maybe start in person and then go to follow-ups on home. So always nowadays we should be looking at how to extend your offerings through online and at home products and services. That's the biggest growth this year. Okay, so now obviously each of those different types of business have a different business model. And so even within the same category, for example, day spas, your business model will be very different depending on what are your business objectives. Are you looking to maximize profit and roll out a franchise, or are you looking to showcase a particular, personal skill or leave a legacy for your children? What's your objective will design a very different business. Also, your target market will greatly shape the model, your points of difference, how you choose to stand out in the market, and that's a whole webinar on its own, but happy to dig into that if people need to. And then the resources that you've got available. So the resources are your expertise, it's other staff or partners that you've got, and it's also your budgets. So everyone here is going to be different with what they're able to do with the business model. So in the next slides, what I've tried to do is find elements that every wellness business should be looking at to be able to sort of not only create a successful business, but sustain it over time. How are we going, Chris? Have I stopped glitching?
No, definitely better, but occasionally. So I've got a feeling it's me.
Okay.
Maybe it's me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But no, it's good.
Okay, we'll persist. We'll persist. So, okay, the very, very first thing is you have to love what you do. And here at the best brands around the world, the ones that have stood the test of time and consistently win the awards despite growth in competition, they're led by people with passion for what they do, because that just, it oozes out and it's very attractive. So if you've got a passion for what you're doing, you've got a commitment to the product or the cause, and that's going to prevent you compromising on your values, compromising on the product, compromising on the quality. And that's pretty important, because as you get the business up and running, it is going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of effort. And in some cases, it's going to take a lot of money. And so you need that passion to give you the energy that you're going to need to keep that going. And so that love of what you do is going to give you the impetus to start, and it's going to give you the momentum to stay the course. So you might start the business with a passion and then get overtaken with the day-to-day, administration and stuff that needs happening. Find some way to keep reconnecting you to what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you love. That's my number one tip out of everything, is to stay connected with the passion for what you do. And then that passion, as I said, will attract and inspire others. Importantly, any staff you've got working with you, clients, partners, and also it'll help attract to you the recognition through media and through awards and other forms of marketing. The next thing you need to do is to keep an eye on the market. Always be looking and listening, anticipating what's going on. Now, the world is changing at an exponential rate due to all of these digital technologies and things coming online. The pace of change is getting faster. And so your market will be changing, the way that you need to do business will be changing, and you need to make sure you're always staying relevant to your clients and also to other stakeholders such as staff, investors, etc. So yeah, your staff, clients, investors, partners. When I talk about partners, that might be some that you collaborate with. So you want to be making sure that you've always got your finger on the pulse in what's happening in your industry. So this is where you're going to need systems to regularly monitor what's happening for opportunities and threats. If you don't have a system for this monitoring, you'll quickly find yourself overwhelmed, and you'll be binging on, and then you'll sort of get overwhelmed and you'll give up. So make sure you've got a system for regularly checking. So what is it that you regularly need to check? Customer feedback, number one. Have some mechanism in place that you're getting feedback from your customers, what's working, what's not working, what could be improved. Also, feedback from your staff. They're the ones on the front line with the clients and customers. Oh, God, sorry about the budgies. They're the ones on the front line. And so they're going to be sort of noticing what is it. Sorry, we've got someone in the waiting room. I'm just going to admit. Okay. They're going to be the ones getting those first-hand comments from your customers. And so have a way to take note of those and to build them into your business. Competitors, you want to be keeping an eye, and you put out some Google alerts or have a regular time each month that you would just check what's going on with your competitors. But the other thing I like to look at is comparables. So these are people who are not necessarily in your competitive set, so maybe they're physically in another country and your clients wouldn't go there, or maybe they're a slightly different industry, but they're doing something that you admire and can learn from. So these are my aspirations that I can look at their business team or how they're presenting themselves and learn from that.
Sam, sorry, can I just get you to explain, because you can actually use a lot of different noise apps to understand what your competitors are doing, like listening apps. So you said Google Alerts. Do you want to just elaborate a little bit on, how someone might set up a Google Alert for a word or something so they can, listen to the noise by their competitors?
Yeah, so I'm a major technophobe, so if I can do anybody can do. Essentially on Google, you can just actually just type in Google Alerts, and then what you do is you can just list a name or a phrase of what you would like to monitor, and then you can set the frequency. So Google Alerts is an actual function of Google. And so, for example, you would put in the name of your business is definitely one alert that you would want. You would also put in the names of your competitors or your comparables, anyone you're wanting to monitor. I would suggest that you don't put in wellness. I tried that because then you just get overwhelmed with so many alerts on wellness. It's hard to keep track. So the more specific your phrase, the more specific the feedback. And then you can set how frequently do you want Google to, they'll send you an email. And so I get, for example, daily alerts on anything that's got my name in it or the name of my company or key competitor. And so then I've got a way every morning, I can just check, has anything popped up? And then I just check if it's good. I want to sort of obviously maybe leverage it in marketing. If it's not so good, I want to be able to put in some way to address it or respond to it. So Google Alerts is one way. If you've got, there are probably marketing agencies also have monitoring services. I'm less familiar with those. Chris, you're probably more of a guru on those.
Yeah, but you know what? Google Alerts is still the best because most people, if things are happening online, Google will pick it up. So I still find that the best, to be honest.
Yep.
I mean, there's BuzzFeed and a few others, but
Yep.
and some of them you actually have to pay for, whereas Google Alerts, yeah, it's fine.
Well, the other thing I do is there are several trends websites, and so depending on what you're after, you can subscribe to newsletters for various organisations or trends. And so, for example, I follow Trend Hunter, and because I do a lot on futurism, I follow there's Future Loop or something. So you might find trend services that you can then subscribe to, and you want to set either a daily or a weekly trend update or an update, depending on, set daily to start. If you're overwhelmed, change it to weekly. But you don't want to leave it sort of like for annually because you'll be too far behind in responding. So have a regular time that's in your diary that you set aside to review these things and to take action on them. Thanks for that, Chris.
No, I just think it's really important, and it's it's the good businesses that have good business practice that are just doing that. And I think I know when I first learned of that tip, it was just mine. It really helped me. So I thought if no one's doing this in their currently doing this, it might be a good tip to start doing it.
Yep. The other thing that I didn't quite go into enough there was industry. Now, if you are in something that's a spa wellness resort, something that's wellness hospitality around spa and wellness, then there are trade associations, beauty associations, spa associations, but look for the association that relates to your business and preferably join them and play an active role. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but at least get their newsletters so that you can follow what's on in terms of the trends and the industry news. Then finally, the other thing that you want to look at, and this one is more of a business planning function, and so this one I only do once a year as part of my annual business planning, and this is what's called a pestel analysis. This represents the forces that are going to be acting on your business that are outside your control. So P stands for political or the political environment. E is the economic environment. S is socioeconomic, so social trends. T is technology. E is environment. And L is the legal environment or regulatory environment. So every year as part of business planning, normally this will get done around about October for the following year, you just want to be reviewing, are there any changes or anything's upcoming in that space? Now, wellness is a very fast changing area, particularly in the area of technology and social, with COVID especially, behaviours, the socio-cultural elements. So you might want to even review those more often, quarterly, for example. But definitely at least once a year, you want to be reviewing those kinds of trends as well. Okay, so next, if you have a team, I know that many of you are probably solopreneurs, so I'll move through this a little bit quick. But if you do have a team, from the beginning, start to create a culture of innovation. And so here, you don't want it to be only you who's responsible for your business success. You want the whole team to be engaged in trying to sort of help improve and grow and innovate your business. And so, what does this mean? In terms of leadership style, you want to be putting in place a very inclusive style of leadership where you're regularly asking your team for their input, having team meetings, getting them involved. And this also ties well with getting their feedback anyway, but letting your team have a voice, designing the jobs of your staff to attract high performers tend to be those that you give them sort of stretch goals. They have the ability to grow, to learn, to develop. In wellness, the number one motivator for any staff is the opportunities for training and development. And so if you've got a job where you can sort of give people opportunities to always learn and grow, you will attract high performers. Staff development, this is similar, but we're talking about expecting and rewarding contribution from the team. So a lot of wellness business owners, particularly when they first get into it, they feel like they need to be the ones to always tell people what to do and to lead and to give instruction. Actually, what we want is a more of a bottom-up approach where the team is rewarded and expected to contribute certain ideas. So for example, the wellness resort that I worked with, Shivasom in Thailand, it was part of every staff member's KPIs, key performance indicators. Every staff member had to give 2 suggestions for improvement per year. Now, actually 2 is not a lot, but that means if they're the cleaner, they had to give 2 ways as to how they could improve their role. If they worked in F&B as a waiter or a cook or something, they had to give 2 improvements as to a way that they could, that was part of their basic job description. And then of course they'd be rewarding people with financial and other incentives based on contributions above and beyond that. So really build that into the culture. And also, if you're going to expect that of people, you have to make sure there is opportunities to contribute. Oftentimes staff will feel a little bit nervous to speak up. So you've got to create spaces and places for them to do that. Some people might be shy, so maybe it's a written way. Others might be sort of more willing to speak up in team meetings. So have a variety of different ways that you can get people to engage. Okay. Am I going too slow, Chris? Do I need to speed up?
No,
Okay. All right.
going well.
All right, learning. Here we go. We want to, the wellness industry, as we said, is changing fast. You will sort of learn a lot on the job as you go. So you want to embed learning and improvement into your operations. And there's I think Peter Drucker was the management consultant who quoted, "What gets measured gets managed." And so as much as possible, you want to think, what are the key drivers to the success of my business? So is it, for example, the number of advertisements that I post, or the sales calls that I make, or the tours that I lead, the staff, the events that I hold? What are the key drivers for my business? And then you want to be looking at how often do you hold them? What's the success rate on that? What worked? What didn't work? And then always using that to tweak. And so, understand what your key drivers are, and then have that system in place to always review what's just been done and work out how to improve it. And that means you need time aside for that. And it's one of the first things that we usually, there's always seems so little time, but actually bake in time for learning and for improvement. It says my internet's unstable. Have I glitched, or are you with me?
You did a little bit, but
okay.
Yep, you still.
Okay. We're here.
Still,
okay.
Yeah, we're here.
All right. And then quite often you're the one that's going to be looking at all of these results come in. Sometimes your team don't see it unless you make it visible. And so you really want the team to see this ongoing progress, to be able to celebrate it. So for example, one of the companies that I ran in Thailand, what we did was we put a big picture of a tree in the staff room, and then when someone came up with an idea, we would put that idea as a leaf on the tree, and then when the idea got actioned, we would turn it into a flower, and then when that action got results, we would turn it into a fruit. And so over the course of the year, the staff, whenever they walked into the staff room, would get to see their ideas coming to. So that was one way that we made it very visible for the team to be able to get excited about the progress that's being made. That's a very time-consuming way to do it. You could even just have a chart or something that where people can see what the progress is. But whatever it is, tell your team every time you have a little win and celebrate it, so that again becomes part of the culture. Okay, liberate here. You can tell where we want basically to liberate as much of your time as possible so that you can work on the business in terms of improving it and marketing it, not so much in the mundane of day to day. So this is where you need to create systems to automate your business as much as possible. So anything that you end up doing 5 times or more probably means you can create a system to speed up the process. Now, the system may be outsourcing it. For example, marketing, social media, you may decide to outsource a virtual assistant who can do that for media for you. It might be administration. Perhaps there's somewhere you can automate that with software. If it's back of house in a spa, maybe you can set up some way to do dispensing or clear. So systems will definitely help to speed up time and free up time. And sometimes whenever I go and work with an operation, you'll ask, why is it being done that way? It's like, oh, because we've always done it that way. And we've been, it's been passed down the way. This is the way it's been done since time immemorial. The silver lining on this pandemic is it's basically the huge disruptor. This is our opportunity to completely reinvent the way that we do things. Customers are more open to change, staff are more open to change, and also there's a greater sense of a need in business to change. So this is the time to do things with a fresh view, and again, get your team involved as to how you might be able to create new and better ways to do things. And so with any bureaucracy that's going to slow down or stifle your ability to respond or change. Okay, leveraging. So this is once you've got all those fundamentals in place, how are you going to grow your business? And this is through relationships, pure and simple. And so you want to find, basically, the more relationships you have, the more opportunities will come your way. And so your customers, having relationships with your customers through, depending on what your businesses are, it might be a CRM system like an email, online correspondence. You could be doing online workshops. It could be face-to-face events, having some kind of membership program, anything that is going to keep a community going or online. Working with your community, your physical community there in Norfolk Island, what other businesses do your clients frequent or are interested in? How can you collaborate with them? It might be for marketing, it might be to create new products and services, but definitely you want to be able to cross-pollinate with each other on the island to be able to send business each other's way. You definitely also want to build relationships with the industry. Now, in wellness, there's a lot of practitioners who operate as freelancers, and they do spend a lot of their time traveling around the world and going and staying and working from different places. Norfolk Island, I imagine, would be a great base for them to be able to spend some time. And so you can meet them through LinkedIn is a really important way, through trade associations, but definitely I would be trying to cultivate your links to other practitioners and suppliers in the industry. And this is again where trade associations are hugely beneficial. And I would encourage you, don't just be a member, get yourself on the board. Once you are on the board of an association, you become the go-to person. You know what's happening because you're at the coalface every time there's news and things happening. But most associations are volunteer operations, and so they're always looking for good people to be part. And even if you're not a board member, but you run a committee or you're an advisor, active role, rather than just being a passive receiver of newsletters, you will find that greatly increases your visibility in the industry, and you also become a person that people go to whenever they want to do promotions, webinars, collaborative products. So definitely be part of an association. Now, sadly, on associations, Australia doesn't really have any wellness associations at the moment. Chris and I are looking at what we can do about that. There are some in the region and globally that you can be part of. And then partnerships. Now, partnerships could be with good ones with product suppliers, equipment suppliers, freelance practitioners, as I mentioned before. It can even be with other brands that maybe your customers would relate to, even if they're not directly a wellness brand. It's going to be in the ecosystem of your customer's life. Okay, our very last one, our last L, is our legacy. And here it's really important in wellness that you and your business are a force for good. Wellness customers expect that it's not going to be just, they're going to come in and experience wellness for themselves, but they expect it to be living and breathing through the entire business. So here they expect you to be doing the right thing by your team, treating them well in terms of their own well-being. They expect you to be making a positive contribution to your community in which you're operating, and also to the planet in which we're, with eco and sustainability. And so that the ways in which this impacts, it's the design of facilities, making sure that as far as possible, you've got sustainable and eco-friendly design. And equipment ideally will be local and from your community there in Norfolk Island, or at least fair trade, and being able to sort of maybe help other groups that need it. Your employment and HR practices, as mentioned, should be, if perhaps you can do something that is a social development, giving underprivileged or underrepresented groups work opportunities or training opportunities is always a good thing. And then in terms of your operations, you want to be looking at, things like waste management, being very responsible in terms of use of plastic and water conservation and energy conservation, those kind of things. And then above and beyond that, if you can, anything that you can do to contribute your time, maybe volunteering, maybe a percent of the profits of the business, or even in some cases, firms are choosing to give a percent of equity to some form of beneficiary is also regarded. So it's important to be visible about this and be specific so that people are aware that you're going to all of these efforts. They like to know what you're doing, but engage people in the story. So if, for example, you're sourcing something locally from in Norfolk Island and it's giving opportunities to certain groups of people, tell that story, show the photos, put it on the website, and really engage people in it. The important thing is must be authentic though. So don't know wellness washing, because people can see through that a mile away and it can actually do more harm than good. People will call you out on it and there'll be social media angst about it. So any efforts must be really, really genuine, but anything that you can will give you huge karma points there with the wellness consumer. So they are my quick tips, well, quick, maybe not so quick, on the keys to success for wellness businesses. I do have some Q&A here that everyone very kindly sent in beforehand. I can launch straight into them. But is there anything, Chris, that's popped up and actually maybe I get out of my
Yeah, look, we had a good question from Ali, because Ali was curious, how do you get yourself on the boards of the various associations? And I just said, hey, stick with us. We'll be seeking people.
Yeah, absolutely. How to get on the board? Contact the chairperson and ask. It's quite often that simple. Now, of course, they are formal bodies, and so they do have elections, and they're usually, in Australia anyway, it's governed by ASIC, and so there will be an annual meeting and you get elected. And so you just put your hand up and say, look, I'm really interested in being involved. I'd like to, put myself up for election next time around, and just make yourself known. And then say, in the meantime, is there some way that I can support? Or quite often what I've just done now, I'm with a group called Asia Pacific Spa and Wellness Coalition. And I've gone to them and I've said, look, I've got this particular project that is in alignment with what you want to do. Can we do this under your umbrella? And they've come back and said yes. And so then that becomes a project that I'm running with that organization's blessing. It gets on their website and I can use that in my own marketing. And so even if you're not on the board, you can always approach an association to be able to pick up and run with a particular project. And I tell you, they will be grateful, because a lot of people with these associations, as we mentioned, they're run by volunteers who have huge hearts, not necessarily a lot of time. And so everyone's always looking for, more people. So Ali, please get involved. As I said, Chris and I will be able to sort of guide you on that, but definitely any association that is, if I know we've got horticulturalists and others on board, yeah, by all means contact whatever association is most relevant to you.
Yeah.
All right.
Sam, before you launch into the pre-asked questions,
yeah,
does anyone who's on the webinar now have a question? Just because if some people need to leave at a certain time,
yep,
at least they can, have the floor to ask their questions now. So if anyone has a question, feel free to see or unmute yourself and ask.
Okay.
Yeah, can I ask?
Hey there, Mel.
How you going? Thanks for the webinar, the information. That's great.
Good.
I was just wondering if anyone has used Pinterest to do any marketing with.
Yep, absolutely. I'm not hugely experienced with Pinterest, but a lot of spa and wellness places do, because pictures speak 1,000 words. People respond to them. And so yes, it is very popular. Although I'm not an expert on Pinterest, I think Chris is probably a better one to launch into.
Look, I'll just jump in. So, if your target audience is sort of crafty, bakey, gardening, Mal, Pinterest is Pinterest is fantastic, because that is where people actually spend the time to look. Where Instagram's a real, shot in the arm, go real quick, there's no engagement, whereas Pinterest has really high engagement, particularly for that demographic, the gardeners, the bakers, the homemakers, the decorators, the all that sort of thing. So Pinterest. And the other beautiful thing with Pinterest is when people are on Pinterest, they're in that ready to buy state or ready to, act state. So if you're looking to decorate your bathroom, for example, you'll go to Pinterest and you'll, look at all your bathroom ideas because you are ready to buy. And the good thing with Pinterest is it's one of the earlier and still the few social platforms where it will, log straight through to your website.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yes, Pinterest is awesome for you, Mel.
Thank you.
Sorry, Sam.
No, that's okay. You've got me excited about it too. I think I might check it out more myself. Yeah, okay. So I will launch into the questions then that I've got here, if that's okay with everyone. Okay, so I notice we've got like 19 minutes to go. You're okay, Chris?
Yeah, look, I'm fine. As I said, Sam, even we'll go until we're done, and then.
Okay.
But people, if you have a question, if something jogs, just pop it in the chat.
I'll open up the chat now anyway. So if you do
Yeah.
have so you can follow that. Okay.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
starting with you, Ali. By the way, everyone's questions were fantastic. I really appreciated them. Thank you. And so, Ali, you particularly honed in on the Shivasam and Kamalaya experience and asking what are the key elements of success. So in terms of, I think with those 7 keys of success we've just been through, definitely all of those applied. But if I have to pick a top one, it's the fact that they both had passionate owners who absolutely refused to compromise. Much to the frustration of many other stakeholders involved. It meant things often cost more and took longer to come to fruition, and definitely in Shivasam's case it took longer to pay back because they weren't in Shivasam were open 25 years ago, the wellness boom, and so it was ahead of its time, and the owner was under pressure to just start just becoming a normal resort that happened to do some wellness, and the owner stuck to his guns, and that helped them to, when the market did come up, they had the very strong market leadership position. So sticking to your concept and being absolutely true to that, that's where that passion comes in that I talked about earlier. So the passion is number one. And then the other thing is having a very clear target market. My background before I got into wellness was advertising. And so for many years, I was basically heading up global advertising for Australian Tourism Commission and others. And when I got into wellness, I'd say, what's your target market? And they'd say, oh, everyone, we're suitable for everyone, could come to our business. And the cliche that we used to say in advertising was, if you try to be everything to everyone, you'll end up being nothing to nobody, because your message is so diluted across so many different areas that it doesn't speak specifically to anyone. So, and it's probably been part of your training so far, but what I like to do when I'm working with a client to set up a new wellness brand is I get you to say, okay, if your brand was a person, what would your brand be? And then if your target customer was a person, who would that, what would that person be? And then I would literally have you write a day in the life of your customer. Her name is Susan. She's 45 years old. She lives here. She has 2 kids. She works in this job. She wears this brand. She goes to this place. And so then it helps you be very, very clear in your marketing. Now, I've gone a little bit off track there, but clear in the customer in that if you are a wellness resort, your primary wellness traveler is your key. You don't try and do weddings, parties, anything, conferences, because that will dilute the wellness offering. So having a very clear target market and sticking to it is key. I feel like I went on a bit of a rant there, but it also taps into another question later, that target market. So I'll revisit it then. Just to come back, the key success factors: passionate owner and being clear on your target. Challenges then was essentially funding. It was always funding, in a sense that Kamalaya, for example, they had this passion and vision, but it cost more than they expected to get it up and running, which meant they had to take on other investors, and then the owners had they had to keep the interest of all those other investors in mind, and it was a real struggle for them to be able to juggle that, and it detracted then from the energy that they could put into the product. They did it beautifully and successfully, but it was a real challenge for them, and so funding is always a challenge. So you really want to look at how can you bootstrap things initially and get up and running as cost effectively as possible, business incrementally. Don't overstretch yourself to start small and then expand, rather than try to do too much at the beginning. Marketing strategies to reach those well-known wellness retreats. Really important here that you get specialists who know wellness hospitality. And so with all of the wellness resorts that I've worked with around the world, the key is having, and they had global, in every region that they had, that they were interested in marketing to, they had a specialist marketing agent who was very familiar with a wellness tourism product. And they do exist. And they've also got databases of wellness tourists. So they have a mark who will then, you can set them a target of how many, customers they would bring you each year, and they will charge you a fee to be able to do that. But it is worth the investment. Some of the businesses that have tried to sell wellness retreats, that have tried to sell to wellness, but they've done it through the normal hotel channels, have really struggled because hotel sales staff don't get the wellness product. And so it's really difficult for them to be able to sell if they don't understand it. About multi-day retreats that are all-inclusive pricing. So you need a marketing team that really understands that. And I can dig more into that if we've got time at the end and you want to dig a little bit more into it. So you can, to recap, specialist marketing agent and people who really understand the wellness product. Okay, so with trade shows and conventions basically now a no-go, what's the best ways to network within the industry? This is where it comes back to associations and LinkedIn. Connect yourself with as many freelance practitioners as possible through LinkedIn, and get yourself on industry association webinars and podcasts, and participate.
Sorry, I've got a question from Lou. Lou's just asked, what about qualifications and what is offered in business? Like for a masseur, a dietitian, would you look, actually, Lou, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question? Because I don't want to misinterpret what you really want to know.
Yep.
So would you look?
Okay, I've got it here, but what about qualifications? What's offered in business, Master? Would you look authentic as a provider without full qualifications? Do you mean without business? Do you mean without business qualifications, Lou?
Yes, I mean about full accreditation as a particular version of a provider. Whether you are a qualified dietitian, whether you're, trained as a masseuse, whether you, whatever, in that line of things.
Yes, you should have in the technical element, such as massage, you should have a formal qualification. This is quite important. With the wellness consumer is increasingly asking technical questions about they want to know the qualifications and length of experience of the staff. If you haven't got a technical qualification, you can be quite, it might be, Luke, can I ask what's your background? What area are you talking about?
Oh, well, it's not the background that I'm in. I'm in tourism for years.
Okay.
I'm currently doing accounts for our own business, which I hate, but anyway, that pays the bills. Yes, I want to do an online business. My sister and I have both done specialty diets for years. I have a diploma of nutrition. I've got millions of naturopath books. I've developed diets. I do all that kind of stuff. I just don't know whether that is enough qualification to actually start a business in that line online. I do it locally, but do I, am I qualified enough?
Sure. Did you say you said you had a diploma of nutrition?
Yes.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely.
And business and tourism. I've got a number of different ones, but
yes.
In that line,
that's absolutely enough. And to be honest, I mean, there's a lot of online influencers who are making a very good living with zero qualifications at all. They're all self-taught. If I was someone who was doing body work, like massage and that kind of thing, then of course I'm going to want to be formally qualified with anatomy, physiology, etc. Now you've got to, if we're talking about online and you've got a diploma of nutrition, then sure, that's enough. Keeping up with all of the current diets and fads and books and all that kind of thing, that's all good. And certainly having an online space with the online content, it's offering content of value that's more important than anything else. What you do need to be careful of, though, is claims that you make. And so here, even though, like, I've done a load of different natural therapies, and even though we know from experience that something might, and I can give my own experience here, I was cured of allergies by a naturopath who put me on herbal medicines and supplements and things, and I can tell you I was cured of them. But as a practitioner, I would not be able to claim that these days, because I can't claim any medical related thing. What you can do is you can sort of, it's the language of it. You know, it's been shown to help the symptoms of blah blah blah. You've got to be careful in your language, and so so your marketing language will be the main caution on that one. But can you do it? Certainly. You've got the diploma of nutrition and you're keeping up to date, of course. Yeah, you can do it for sure. But always the important thing is authenticity. Always be authentic and transparent about you, your qualifications, your experience. And so in your online, talk a lot about the fact that, you know, you've picked all of this stuff up through years of experience and, you know, just on practice. But don't ever pretend to be something that you're not, because things get caught out. But just talk from experience, and yeah, that's fine. Certainly you can do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, can we recommend any specialist marketing agents in Australia? Yes, I did. What I should do, I should probably go through Chris, because I don't know the current contact details. The girl that I worked with was, her name is Michelle, and she's since married. It's going to be useless for you, isn't it? Michelle, but she's married, and I don't know her current surname. But I did, they're the agents for Shivasom and Kamalaya and all those others.
Double Edge. Yeah, so they're a PR company. So
Yep.
Double Edge PR, and it was Michelle Lama.
Oh, her name wasn't Lama before. I don't know her.
So Simone
Michelle
and
Zuber. Michelle Zuber was her name. And so
now Michelle Lama.
Michelle Lama. And so what you can expect is that, yeah, they're PR, and what they tended to be very good at is, rather than spending money in advertising as such, they create events with, they look for the right partners, they look for the right media, they look for the right practitioners, and they create these sort of events that really engage people more than just being straight advertising. But of course, they will also get you into media. And so they're one that I can recommend. If Australia, maybe Chris, I need to put together a list and give them to you to pass on.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely help you out on that front. So, yeah. So and that, as you say, Sam, that's another whole webinar on another day. So we'll go into that. So I'll tag that. I'll make a note.
It is. Now I'm aware of time, so I'm going to basically. Some of this has sort of been covered, but where is wellness going to be in 5 years' time? It's diversifying rapidly. On one hand, it's going very natural, holistic, but on the other hand, it's also embracing a lot of high tech. Silicon Valley is throwing billions of dollars into what we call functional medicine technology. So it's things about using different light, sound, etc., stem cells, all that. So there's the whole wellness umbrella is growing, and again, that's going to be another webinar on its own. And so the important thing is, be clear on your niche. You're never going to be able to do the whole wellness thing as it gets bigger and harder to control. So be clear on your niche. Just jumping to others, I've been talked about the impact of COVID. Daniela, actually, you were asking about the impact of climate change, etc., on how travellers choosing their destinations. COVID, I heard it referred to as a slingshot that has really catapulted us forward between 3 and 10 years in our ability to live and work. And so what this is meaning is people are now more than happy to work online and work remotely. And so we're seeing people taking longer working holidays, being digital nomads, actually relocating to rural areas. And so Norfolk Island could be a good destination for people wanting to sort of take a healthier life and work remotely from there. It can also be a good destination for people who are wanting those healthy hibernations, maybe away from a winter, or a sort of a digital nomad retreat. Definitely that's part of it. The key will be good Wi-Fi, unlike my Wi-Fi today. I apologize to people. Good Wi-Fi, and making sure there is that community there that these people can engage in. And so working community to real. Oh, did it glitch again? Oh my God, sorry. Okay. So
it's fine. It's like microseconds.
So my suggestion to you, Team Wellness, is create the Wellness Association or Council or whatever of Norfolk Island, and really look for how can you reach out to all businesses in Norfolk Island, and no matter what they do, introduce some element of wellness into their operation. So every hotel can have wellness options in its menu or its activities. You can partner with them for different activities. So sorry, I know that Chris has got her other thing that she's setting up, but definitely try and create your community there, not just with Team Wellness, but reaching out to the whole business community on Norfolk Island so that you can increase your reach. Now, I haven't got to Judith's questions yet. Judith,
keep going, Sam. That's
okay.
fine. I'll just put a note up. I'll be there in 15. So,
Judith, I'm not sure if Judith is on the line, is she?
Yes, she is. Yes,
good.
She is.
Okay, Judith, you're specifically talking about your aging reimagined concept, which I absolutely love, and you're for basically the 4 step: reviewing, releasing, reflecting, reimagining. And that is totally on trend. You've tapped into a really fast growing market with that sort of growing silver market. And particularly now, the people you were asking about, why is it that the wellness resorts are only showing sort of images of a 20 to 50-year-old demographic? Basically, they are aiming for that older target market as well, but the market that you're talking about, they're still life-loving, adventure-seeking older people. They respond well. They don't want to see a whole heap of really old people in pictures. They're in their mindset, they're sort of seeing themselves more youthful, so they still respond well for images of people in their 40s and 40s and 50s. In terms of the trends of the industry for that older market, if I look at it a couple of ways, the biggest fear of that older market is around brain health. The biggest fear is around loss of memory and dementia. So anything that is in brain health is going to be hugely popular. And that means, basically they call it diabetes. So it's related to diet, it's related to movement, it's related to weight, as well as keeping the brain active. So anything you do around that brain health phase will be hugely popular. The biggest risk factor for the decline of health as people are aging is a fall. So anything we can do about fall prevention, which is increasing the mobility, strength, flexibility, and balance. So this is getting people basically using their body. In wellness retreats, the biggest revenue earners really it's not the spa, it's physiotherapy, where people are looking at how to improve their body's sort of mobility and performance. And so physiotherapy on the menu, and any movement that can help in those sort of strength, flexibility, balance, mobility areas. So that's the biggest fear and the biggest risk factor. Another big need that I would tap into is the need for resilience. And this is more of the mental, emotional side. Their ability to cope with loss, stress and change as they're getting older. Change going into retirement, loss of a partner, loss of their job, etc. So you need to be able to sort of, anything that's on building resilience will be really popular. I feel like I've been on a rave, but Judith, how do you want to unmute yourself? Have I answered your key questions?
I think you have. Especially the last thing that you said about resilience and the emotional, mental aspect. That's what I'm focused on. As a psychologist, that's where my experience is. So, especially with grief and the many, many losses that we have at that time of life. So I appreciate your feedback on that.
Yeah. Approaches, connections unstable. I presume I've blipped. Am I back?
A little bit. You're back.
Okay. Okay, so this is probably applicable to everybody. When it comes to marketing strategy in the service industry, there's the 7 P's of wellness. And if anyone has done marketing as a sort of a degree, you probably heard about the 4 P's, which is product, place, promotion, and price. But in the service industry, yes, we've got the product that we're offering, the place in which we're doing it, the way that we're pricing it, and the promotion the way that we're promoting and running it. But the 3 P's that are specific to service that you need to focus in on, and this will be important, is the people who you are using to deliver your service, the processes that you use, so the processes that it's your guest flow, that what's their experience, and also the back of house support processes. And the last P is proof. What's the proof that your service gets results? Now, this might be testimonials. Word of mouth is by far the biggest seller for any kind of wellness business. If you've got anything physical, it could be before and after photos. It could be results in some other measurable form. So keeping those 7 P's of marketing in mind, definitely that my marketing strategies are always planned around those 7 P's, and how for every product I'm looking at, for everything I'm doing on a 7 P level. And I feel like there's so much more that we could go into on that. There was Jonathan. Is Jonathan on the line?
No, Jono's one of the mentors. So,
Okay.
And I think he just asks questions to just ensure we do have direction for content. So you may or may not have covered his.
I did. Well, I haven't, but it is a relevant one, so I'll cover it for the team. And he asked a question. He asked 2 questions. One is, how can small or micro businesses fit into the bigger concept or a wider wellness brand and still be seen or noticed and not get lost in the noise? And I think this is a really important question, actually. And this is where under our, the 6 L's we did before. This is the leverage one. And it's all about the relationships, forming relationships with all of the different parties, stakeholders in your business. So relationships with other businesses in Norfolk Island and associations. So the more relationships you form, and the more familiar those people are with what you do, the more effective it will be. So, for example, if you're offering services to guests of a hotel, make sure the people on the front desk of that hotel or the marketing department of that hotel have come in and they've tried your services, or that you've done enough for the heads of department of that hotel as to what you do and why you benefit. Always think about, and what can you do? Find ways that your business can add benefit to their business and find ways to add value. So make yourself an invaluable partner for as many businesses as possible. And then the last point from Jonathan was about authenticity. How important is it? Massive, 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 because people are looking for it. And so what makes you authentic is the level of detail to which you've infused your concept through the business. And so if you, I'm just trying to think of an example that's specific to Norfolk Island, but let's say, in fact, what business have we got on the line that might be an example? But let's just say I'm claiming to be a sustainable business. Okay. And so we talked about this before. So I'm going to make sure every element that I've picked an example that's easy so I can give you examples. So sustainability, you make sure you've got sustainable design, the products are sourced from suppliers that, you know, the ingredients are sustainable, it's recyclable, you've got your energy and water conservation programs in place. You've got sort of in terms of some kind of initiative that you're supporting in the local community, so that there's many, it's not just communication, you've got many, many touch points that reinforce the point, we are sustainable. Your point might be something different. It might be whatever your unique your USP, your point of differentiation is, such as, for example, it's about the older market, the aging market, in which case your whole business, all of those 7 Ps we talked about, will be designed around the aging target market. And so that's what gives you authenticity, is if every part of the business is planned around that. Right. I think it's been a race to the finish, and I'm still a little over for you there, Chris. But
that is okay, Sam.
Okay, team, I think I've answered all of the questions that were sent in, I do believe. Has anyone got any other points, or is there anything that was Mal noticed? Oh, nootropics, yes. Brain health. So Mal, you need to be teaming up with Judith there for sure. Nootropics are huge business, and so if you've got anything that you're doing on the island about that, that'll be a massive seller, and that could be easily online as well. Okay. All right. So team, I think hopefully I've answered all the questions. I did want to put up just a, if there was any contact details, actually I was going to share screen again, but Chris, if anyone has any questions after this, answer them. Chris knows how to get in touch with me, and I will happily respond to any emails or whatever that you like.
Yeah, look, thank you, Sam. I'll share I'll pop your details in the Facebook group that we have. Okay. But the other thing too, I'm going to share the interview you and I did a couple of weeks ago, because I think a lot of information that we spoke about then would also be relevant to these guys, if that's okay.
And also, Chris, feel free to share the PPT of today. It's just got those 7 points, because I did talk through them at breakneck speed. And you know, if you can refer back to them and just make sure that they're built into your business, it really will help you sustain success.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Sam and Chris.
Okay.
Pleasure. Thank you guys for coming in on your wet day.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.
That was really good.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sam. You're a bloody champion.
That's okay. So I'll end meeting. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. See you guys.